sun shining through the studio windows. It's a beautiful little day here in Hamilton, Ohio. But it's probably not as nice as it is in Goodyear, Arizona, where the Cincinnati Reds are playing good ball. They're playing good ball. We've said it multiple times on this show, and we'll continue to say it. Spring training isn't to get the players ready for a grueling 162-game regular season. Isn't to get the arms loose, get some ABs. It's not to stimulate the Arizonan economy. It is simply there to let you win bad faith arguments. And whatever opinion that you have about your favorite team, your favorite player, or about teams that you don't like, you can use spring training as a way to fuel that. And if your opinion is being proved wrong by spring training, well, guess what? It's just spring training. Who cares? Who cares? I kept making the joke that the Cubs weren't going to lose a Cactus League game because they were 8-0-4 or whatever they were. They literally tied like 4 straight games. And I looked up at the standings of the Cactus League, and it was good company that the Cubs were in. It was like the Cubs, the White Sox, the Athletics, the Marlins. It was good company for the old Cubs. But we're going to play a little game. It's going to be called the Reds Stock Exchange. So it's not quite buy or sell, but it's going to be pretty similar. I'm going to name a player, and you're going to tell me if you're buying stock on him, if you're selling your stock on them, or you're just holding.
Okay.
You're just going to stay put, right? Okay. You're just going to be like, we'll wait.
Spoiler alert, these iron hands don't sell, so I'm holding on to all of them.
Nice. All right, so the first player in the Red Stock Exchange was both your guys' number one player to look forward to the 2024 Red season, Noelvi Marte. You buying, selling, holding Noelvi Marte.
Oh, I'll buy it all. I'll buy everyone. I'm sure Elliott's selling his. I think everyone's going to sell their stock. I mean, he's been terrible for a calendar year. So, yeah, I'll scoop it all up. He's a previous top 15 prospect in baseball. He was one of the best prospects in the Red system. Traded Luis Castillo for him as the main return. Yeah, I'll buy all the Noelvi Marte stock.
I'm all good without Noelvi Marte. It was fun. I had him as my number one player, as Reed mentioned, coming into last year. I thought he was going to be good. I thought he was good at defense. I thought he could hit the ball. I thought he was a low strikeout guy. I thought all these things. And like 15 at-bats, he's got 7 strikeouts and I think a hit so far this spring. He was also terrible during winter ball. And he was also terrible during the season. I don't know how many times you can be terrible in a row. I usually go by the 3 strikes, you're out method. He's at his 3.
As baseball does.
So I'm out. I mean, you can buy whatever you want on him. I'm sure that stock's going at a penny right now.
Oh yeah, I'll buy it all.
And you could buy 1 billion pennies.
You're gonna be mad when he's mashing in Chattanooga.
I'll keep my Shroot bucks over here, and I'm selling everything because that guy's not going to contribute to the Cincinnati Reds anytime in the near future.
How many A's do you think this year?
1. I bet it gets to 1.
Wow.
I bet it gets to 1.
At what point?
It'll start at 2, but it'll get to 1.
Him and Bubba?
When he can't play, well, actually he might
He'll go play football.
He might actually go do that. He might go play a different sport.
Southern Alabama.
Yeah, he might go he could play a different sport.
It's at what point in Noelvi Marte's career, if what Elliott is projecting happens and he flounders, right? Yeah. It's just all over the place. He's playing single A baseball. At what point does he return back to the juice? Does he just try it again?
Look,
he's like, listen,
yeah.
I just got.
Well, the hurdle for him there is he doesn't know how he took it the first time.
That is a good.
So he wouldn't even know how to take it again.
You'd have to get lucky. Is
right.
Essentially what this is. You have to get
lucky. Go back to Dominican, eat a bunch of burgers.
Yeah, and then get a little juice burger. Yeah, I'm out. I wish I could be higher on him. The fact that he's regressed literally at every single moment since the juicing. It concerns me very mightily, and there's no reason that he should be taking major league at bats when the Reds are trying to win games. If we were the White Sox, sure, he can come up and he can help us win 25 games this year. But the Reds are trying to at least do something. They're trying to improve upon a disappointing season. You can't do that with Noelvi Marte in the lineup.
I'm on a horrendous streak of Reds jerseys, and I got a Noelvi jersey before opening day last year. Yeah, City Connect. Yeah, it's real cool.
No.
Fake from Russia. It was like $20.
Okay.
But still, just keeps that streak alive. So I'm really hoping he can get back.
Yeah, he won't get back. You don't.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll get the juice. Maybe we'll get the creatine gummies Amazon brand. I hear those are great. All right, Tyler Stevenson. You buying, selling, holding your stock on Tyler Stevenson.
I'll hold this stock because I don't know how much better he gets from last season, but I think he's much closer to last season than any other of the seasons of his career in terms of the output he's going to give you on a yearly basis. So I love Tyler Stevenson. Incredibly happy that he's the catcher of the Reds, and I'm gonna sit pat because I think this is the player he is, which is a very, very good thing. I don't think he's going to get a ton better.
I didn't have any Tyler Stephenson stock coming into last year, and I saw how disappointing it was. Like when Reed had the DraftKings stock, right? And if you didn't have the stock,
Why are you bringing this back?
if you didn't have the stock, you were going to feel bad. Well, I felt really, really bad when I didn't have Tyler Stevenson stock last year because he showed out that he was one of the best catchers in Major League Baseball, if not the National League. And I think that as you look into the future of the Reds here, he's going to be a part of it. He's going to be a part of our future. He was really, really good in bolstering the young starting rotation. He improved offensively. If he can be a 20 home run guy with us here, I mean, we're talking about an all-star, a bona fide all-star in Tyler Stevenson. So I'm hoping that continues. I'm going to buy some more stock, and I'm going to say he improves and he gets better and he plays more games this year. I think he's going to be a big, big, big factor in the Reds' success.
I am so mad that you brought up my DraftKings stock because I severed that loss out of my brain. I held stock. I think my average price was $11.
Yeah.
I sold at $21. It's $40 now. So that's tough. That's a tough one. All right. Here's one that I don't think people are talking about a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. Alexis Diaz. Buying, selling, holding Alexis Diaz stock.
I'll keep buying Alexis Diaz stock.
Okay.
I think he's a good closer, and I think the record shows that. Even though when you watch the games, you don't necessarily feel like it. Another jersey I owned after his All-Star season. So yes, last year when he started to tail off, that was brutal. But yeah, I'm gonna keep buying Alexis Diaz stock. I said he's one of the most important players to the Reds this season a few weeks ago because if he can return to that All-Star form as a lockdown closer, I think that can really, really help this team. So I'm gonna keep being all in on him because I think he has a chance to be one of the best, most consistent players on this team.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell my Alexis Diaz stock. I liked what I saw a couple years ago. I thought he was a very, very good pitcher. In 2023 he was solid. 2022 he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think what he was last year is closer to what he will be. And again, I'm not knocking what he did. He had 28 saves last year. Didn't have a ton of blown saves. I still think the Reds I think they ranked first in lack of blown saves, which was a good thing. I don't like how hard he works for his saves. I just there's something about when he's out there.
Make it easy for you one time.
Yeah, like there's base runners that constantly are out there when he's pitching, and I don't like that. He's regressed at pretty much every single thing over these past several years, and I like Alexis Diaz. I think he can be a good pitcher. In terms of having him be my bona fide closer of the future, I'm going to sell that because I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to find somebody else who can do that role more effectively. It's no knock on Alexis Diaz. He's been very, very good, especially given that he was expected to probably not be very, very much of anything.
Right.
When he was brought up to the Reds in 22. So he's done a great job. I'm just not going to buy him going forward. I'm going to sell my Alexis Diaz stock.
I think I'm with you, Elliot, as an outsider. And when the Reds are a team projected where they are, which is 75, 85 wins, 75 at the low, 85 at the high, there's a lot of close games in there. A lot of one-run games. We saw the Miami Marlins 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, make the postseason because they were 25-10 or something crazy in one-run games. So you need to win those close games, and that's where the closer comes in. The problem is closers in Major League Baseball are about as fickle as the takes here at Chatterbox Sports. Like, they come and go. They come and go. Alexis Diaz, Jacob said this, is one of the most crucial pieces to the Cincinnati Reds this year. I know that's weird to say with a team with so many young talent, so many question marks, and he seems to be one of the things that you at least know what you have. But I can tell you you're in, and this is coming from a guy that experienced it last year with the Cubs, you're in for a miserable summer if Alexis Diaz isn't an all-star closer or a good closer. It gets really tough. And I know you pride yourself on how deep that bullpen is, but I don't think there's an immediate stopgap if Alexis Diaz gets hurt, if Alexis Diaz starts struggling in April and May. I don't think there's that guy that you immediately fill in there and go, all right, this is the guy now. I don't think that's there. So while I don't think Alexis Diaz is going to be the worst closer in baseball, no, I don't think that at all. I just would say maybe it's time to sell that stock. All right, here's a tough one. Matt McLain. Buy, sell, hold.
I'll sell my Matt McLain stock.
What?
I think he's peaking up right now into this season. People are saying he's going to be an all-star. What do they have him as the backup second baseman in the National League All-Star team? That's pretty steep. I think he'll get there at some point. I think he's awesome. I also think everyone else in this room is going to buy the Matt McLain stock, so I will sell it.
I'm going to hold it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to hold all the Matt McLain stock I have. I love Matt McLain, and I don't want anybody to think I don't love him. Here's my issue. I'm going to need him to play
baseball.
So if he doesn't play baseball, there's literally no way of knowing what he is. As of right now, he's healthy. He looks great. I'm excited. We'll see how many games he plays this year. And if he's able to stay healthy, if he's able to be consistent, then I'm going to buy so much Matt McLain stock that I'm going to not have any financial dollars anywhere else except for in Matt McLain stock. That are all my whole net worth will be Matt McLain stock if he plays a complete season this year and plays like the way he did 2 years ago. I'll buy all of it. Right now, I'm just going to hold it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to buy any more. I'm holding my Matt McLain stock. Reed's been making this point for a while now, and it's true. It's literally the entire world thinks that he's going to be really, really good, and he has to be good for the Reds to be good. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy, you know, and I think he's got a great relationship with Elly. I think we tweeted out that last night, that funny little Batman bit. Love that. I think it's going to be fun this year while he's on the field with Elly. I think we'll have the best middle infield in baseball. I just need him to stay on the field. I need it. Because if he's not on the field, I hate to say it, he's not worth anything to me.
He's played 89 games, and I feel like his stock right now is at an all-star level.
Yeah.
So, no, that's where I was going to say. I think that Jacob is right. This is a good opportunity. If you're treating this like a stock, if you actually had money in the performance on Matt McLain, this would be a good time to sell it because I think he's currently selling at all-star second baseman. Well, I think he's definitely could be that. There's no doubt in my mind that Matt McLain can be an all-star second baseman. I just think there's probably going to be a dip at some point. I think there's probably going to be a little regression from what we saw 2 years ago. Coming off an injury, hasn't played in a year and a half, or hasn't played in a year. So, I don't know. Like, we'll see. We'll see, I guess. I think it's a good opportunity to sell. I think Matt McLain's going to be a very good ball player. I think he's going to be great. I just think his stock is currently selling around all-star level, and I don't think he's that yet. Then there's going to be a dip. Then he can buy some more. The final one we do before we go to break, I'm just throwing names out of a cannon now. Graham Ashcraft. We buy and sell and holding Graham Ashcraft stock.
I'll buy it because I think Graham Ashcraft
Bulldog.
Jeez Louise. Yeah. No, I'll scoop up the Bulldog stock because I think what's that sitting at right now? Somewhere between AAA and the bullpen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll scoop that up. I think if Graham Ashcraft's in our bullpen, he can be a diet right version of what Nick Martinez was last year. I don't think he's going to be, an all-star level, multi-inning reliever, but I think he can be a pretty exciting piece as a 2-inning guy out of the bullpen. I think that would be awesome to watch. He's a guy that really fell off his second and third time through the order. So if you eliminate that, maybe he's a much, much better pitcher. If you just go by his starting numbers, I'm much more excited about Graham Ashcraft in the new role than I think I've seen a lot of other people. So I'll scoop it all up. I love Graham Ashcraft.
There's 2 Graham Ashcrafts. I'm going to not touch the Graham Ashcraft starting stock.
Oh, okay, correct.
That stock is worthless. No disrespect. It's worthless. Bullpen Graham Ashcraft, I'm going to scoop it all up like Jacob just did. I'm going to buy whatever he didn't buy, I'm then going to buy. Because I think Graham Ashcraft can be a really, really good reliever this year for the Reds. And I think you're going to see a really improved bullpen. The bullpen was great last year. I thought they were very, very good, a large reason why the Reds were successful. I think they're going to get better this year. I really do. I think the Reds are going to have a very, very good bullpen. And I think it's going to be because of guys like Graham Ashcraft, who we don't really know what it looks like yet. But we know he can be good in a limited capacity. And I think this is what you do. You limit his capacity, and maybe Graham Ashcraft for those first 2 innings like he does when he starts are really, really good.
It reminds me of, 2 years ago when Luke Weaver was struggling as a starter, and we said, maybe if you just made this guy a reliever, he'd be all right. And he goes to New York, and he tears it up, and he's closing World Series games. So, maybe that really does have a translation factor.
We're going to take a break here. The thing today about Graham Ashcraft is I am so excited for a mid-June Graham Ashcraft start. And he goes 5 innings, 4 earned runs given up, and he's just so sweaty out on that bump. He's just the sweatiest guy you've ever seen. He's a fighter. he's a fighter, and that's what you need coming out of the bullpen. So who knows? If he comes out of the bullpen, it could be something to hang your hat on. We're doing the Cincinnati Reds stock exchange. Got a few more players, and we can continue playing this game here in the final segment. Look at me. Planning 6 segments.
That's right.
On a show.
Well, I don't know if we let you off that easy. I mean, 2 segments where you get a double T. Higgins segment, now you get a double Red Stock Exchange segment.
I also just ask you guys questions and you guys talk the entire time. So it's I don't know how much planning went
and
into
headlines.
it at all.
Wait, hold on.
So I don't know how much.
Did you plan anything?
The correct answer is no, I did not. But we're having fun here on a Tuesday. Red Stock Exchange.
On a Tuesday.
Billy Baseball, Will Benson. You buying, selling, holding Will Benson stock.
So in order to sell it, someone would have to buy it, right? Other than that one guy in our chat, is anyone buying Will Benson stock?
I don't think it's available.
So I guess I'll hold it.
You're
scooping it up?
Dude, that's coming on for a nickel. I can get a share for a nickel.
But he stinks.
Listen, the talent is there. He's clearly talented. He's clearly got athletic ability, clearly got power, plays a good glove. And the thing that I always admire, and I said this two years ago watching, I don't watch it as much as you guys. I watch the Cubs. Sometimes I watch the Reds with my family and friends and stuff like that. We heralded Will Benson in 2023 as the best 9-hole in baseball. Clearly wasn't that last year. Clearly far from it. Maybe the worst hitter in baseball last year. But the thing that was so admirable about 2023 Will Benson was his approach at the plate. Long at bats. What's our favorite bet in professional gambling?
4.5 pitches.
Over 4.5 pitches from Will Benson. The reason that Juan Soto gets $760 million or whatever he got this year isn't because he's a great glove, steals 40 bases. He doesn't even hit 50 home runs. He's hit 40 home runs one time in his career. The reason Juan Soto gets that much money because of his plate approach. And that carries into your 40s. We saw that with Joey Votto. Great plate approach. If Will Benson can just figure out how to put the ball in play. The thing about great plate approach is when they finally throw you a pitch, you got to hit it. And that's where Will Benson was struggling last year. He was missing middle fastballs. He's still got a great approach. If you're gonna sell it for a penny, if you're gonna sell it for a nickel, I'll buy as much Will Benson stock as I can possibly have. I don't even know if he'll play this year. But that's something I'm willing to gamble on. That's something I'm willing to get.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't think he will play this year. I don't think he's got a spot unless somebody gets hurt. I think it's right now. You had Spencer Steer, assuming that he's available. I'm gonna be optimistic and hope that Spencer Steer is gonna play in left field on opening day. And if that's the case, you have TJ in center. You have Jake Fraley in right. If Jake Fraley's not playing, it's gonna be Austin Hayes. If Austin Hayes isn't playing, I'd imagine it might be Stuart Fairchild. I just don't know what Will Benson provides that the other guys wouldn't. He's not a good defender, and he's certainly not good offensively compared to what the other guys are either. I like Will Benson. I think he's exciting. I don't think that Will Benson's going to be a contributor to the Reds. I think he could be a contributor elsewhere. Like if the Reds were to trade him, I don't know, again, what a trade of Will Benson would look like. But if you were to trade Will Benson away, I think that he could have like a decent career in Major League Baseball because of what you said. I do think there is something to having good plate discipline and
he's 6'5" and hits the crap out of the ball.
Yeah, and there's power there, and sure, he could absolutely do it. I just think on this specific team, he doesn't have a role because as far as lefty hitters go, we have that. In TJ and Jake Fraley. If we needed somebody to hit against lefties, it's certainly not going to be Will Benson. We saw what happened last year. He asked for lefty at bats and he failed majorly at facing left-handed pitching, and that'll go to Austin Hayes. So again, he could come up if somebody gets injured, and maybe that's what will happen. I just don't even think this stock's available to be bought. I think this is closed off, locked up.
Yeah, it's just in 2 years of Will Benson as a Cincinnati Red. You want to guess what in his 2 years what his OPS plus is?
It's probably not that bad.
In 2 years, league average is 100.
78.
You want to take a guess?
I'll go right around there, like 81.
His in 2 years as being a Cincinnati Red, his OPS plus is 100.
Okay.
Wow.
He was 78 last year.
Okay.
Wow.
He was 130 2 years ago. If you're wondering, 130 is the OPS plus of an all-star hitter. So I mean,
Spencer Steer's in 96.
Worth mentioning. So in 2 years, like, if we're just That's one stat, guys. Obviously, Spencer Steer's been a better hitter than Will Benson over the last 2 years, but according to OPS Plus, it's kind of close. I don't know.
And he's only played
26 years old.
Yeah, he's only played 2 real years of Major League Baseball. 3 years if you count the 20 games he played with the Guardians. But I think that there is a career for him. I just don't think it's with the Cincinnati Reds.
I'm not moving off of Will Benson. Like, I wouldn't DFA him, or I mean, certainly you can't trade him.
No, I wouldn't DFA Will Benson.
You can't trade him.
I mean, I don't know what he would be worth. I mean,
I'd much rather have him in our minor leagues trying to hit.
Sure, maybe. I just
there's no way you get any kind of return for him, and I think there's probably a better chance that he can figure it out than whatever lottery ball 17-year-old in single A that you get in exchange for him. So I do think the best course of action is to keep him probably in Louisville and see if he can figure it out this year, and then you have that option if someone gets hurt. But I think something goes pretty wrong injury-wise if he's starting early in the season.
In 2 years in the league, his on-base percentage is 100 points higher than his batting average. His on-base percentage last year was almost the exact same as Jeimer Candelario's, and that's while hitting 90 points less. Plate approach matters, guys. Plate approach matters. And when you're struggling, they can attack you more. When you're swinging, when you're missing 96-mile-an-hour fastballs, middle, they don't have to really dance around you. They have no reason to break off a slider when you can't even hit the fastball. I don't know. We'll see with Will Benson. I don't know if he'll get a fair shake because this team's kind of winning window is soon. Now.
I'd rather have Reese Hines up. I'd rather have just so many other guys up than Will Benson right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Kirby put this in the Discord about someone when the clip came out about how Will Benson has a higher ceiling than any Reds outfielder. Someone put in that Jacob Hurtubise, he'd rather have Jacob Hurtubise play than Will Benson. And then Nick Kirby, funnily, he was pretty funny about this. He says, in Jacob Hurtubise's entire collegiate, minor league, and major league career, he has fewer home runs than Will Benson had last year.
Thank you for your service, Jacob Hurtubise.
Yeah, I just thought that was a funny little note. All right, we've got a few more minutes here in the segment, so we'll keep it rolling. Another outfielder, Will Benson's position, Jake Fraley. Rake Fraley, buying, selling, holding.
I'm buying it. I think Jake Fraley's going to have a really good year. I think Jake Fraley had a bad year last year because of a lot of things that weren't his fault. And I think you're going to see an improved Jake Fraley. Again, Jake Fraley also hasn't played a ton of Major League Baseball seasons. And I think this is the year where he's going to kind of shine. Obviously, he was Mr. Base Hit last year, had no extra bases. That's going to change. He's going to hit for power. He's going to hit doubles. He's going to get back to the Jake Fraley we saw a couple years ago. He's a solid glove. I wouldn't say he's the world's best defender, but I think he's serviceable out there in right field, and I think he's going to be a big part of the team. I think it's going to be Jake Fraley's spot in right field for at least a majority of the season. When a lefty comes in, Austin Hayes will take over. But I do think Jake Fraley will start a majority of the games in right field. I think he's going to be very good. I'm excited to watch Jake Fraley improve this year. So I'm going to buy every single bit of stock in the world.
Not all of it, because anything you're not buying, I'll buy. So
okay.
leave a little bit.
Right.
We'll Mr. Beast.
I'll leave a little bit.
Don't take it all right off the rip, because I love Jake Fraley too. I think he's going to be back to, if not a full version of what we've seen in the past, at least much closer to it than what we saw last year. He was dealing with a lot of outside circumstances, like Elliot said. The last 2 years in Cincinnati, excluding last year, I mean, he had 12 home runs and 15 home runs.
Yeah.
If he can get up towards that number, that completely changes the type of player he would be. Even last year with the injuries and everything else going on, he stole 20 bases, 21 the year before. This is a really exciting player. The 2 years, again, outside of the injuries, last year was at a 716 OPS. He had a 785 and an 815. I mean, this is a really exciting player. If he's able to stay healthy and have a good year out in the outfield, I think he falls in the same bucket as Alexis Diaz for me, a guy a lot of people don't necessarily talk about on a day-in, day-out basis, but absolutely crucial for the Reds' success in any way, shape, or form this year. If he can go back to Rake Fraley instead of Singles Fraley, we're going to be a pretty exciting team. I think he can really be a special piece to this outfield if he can get back to that form that we've seen before. He's a much better player than we saw last year, and if that's where his stock's sitting at, I'll scoop it all up.
His bad year was hitting 280 with a 330 OBP
on a team that no one was hitting on.
Correct.
So it's not even like he was hidden in the lineup.
Yeah, I would be concerned about the power numbers. Obviously, his first 2 years with the Reds, his power number, his slugging percentage was in the 450s, 468. That's great. That's great for a back end of the order, middle of the order outfield bat. But if you look at his 6 years in the majors, his slugging percentage is right around where it was last year. So the question is what's Jake Fraley? Is it what we've seen throughout most of his career, or was it what we saw 2 years ago? He is getting older. He's right around 30. He's going to turn 30 years old this year. So we'll see. We'll see. If I had Jake Fraley stock, I'm not buying more. I'm not selling. I'm holding. I think it's. We'll see. We'll see. Because I don't think it's that valuable either way.
Fair.
As an outsider, do you think that the outfield's going to be as bad as I think outside of Cincinnati thinks it will be? Because it's certainly not one of the highest rated outfields in Major League Baseball. And as I look at it as somebody who watches the Reds, I think last year, again, injuries and everything prevented them from being as good as they could be. I think they're going to be an above average outfield this year, and that probably around 14th. Major League Baseball.
I do not think they're going to be an above average outfield, and I think that if it is a serious area of concern, if you look at the 3 teams that most people are projecting are going to be fighting for the National League Central, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Brewers, the Reds by far have the worst of those 3 teams outfield. I mean, you're looking at the Cubs who, all intents and purposes, might have a top 2, top 3 outfield in baseball. Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, PCA, who had a 2.5 WAR last year, and Ian Happ. That's one of the best outfields in baseball. You're looking at the Brewers, who have Christian Yelich, who have Jackson Churio, who is 20 years old and blossoming as a star. I think they are much behind the 8 ball. But as we all know, the Reds' success is going to come from the dirt. It's going to come from people on the mound. It's going to come from people in the infield. So you just need them to be league average, much like the Bengals need the defense to be league average.
Yep.
Or right around there, not even league average. If the Bengals had a top 20 defense in the league, they make the postseason and maybe make some noise. If the Reds have a top 20 outfield in Major League Baseball this year, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Final guy, big signing last year, Jeimer Candelario, buying, selling, holding.
I got to buy the stock because if he's as bad as he was last year, that's one of the worst free agency signings for a team that makes a lot of bad free agency signings. So I'll buy it because it's just pure optimism and hope that he's going to figure it out and be a player that we expected him to be, at least be close to it, be a guy that we can put in the lineup and not have me roll my eyes and groan when I see it. I just want him to be a serviceable baseball player. He doesn't even have to be the $15 million guy. Just be better. So that would be great. I'll buy it from where he was at last year. He can't possibly be that bad.
I don't want to buy it. I'll hold it, I guess. I'll hold it. I didn't really love the move when the Reds did it because at the time there was already a surplus of infielders. Obviously, things have changed, and he needs to be good now for the Reds to be successful, as Jacob just said. I'm going to try to temper my expectations with Jeimer Candelario. I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to hit 35 home runs. I'm going to say that he's going to be an okay player and he's going to help the Reds hopefully fight for the postseason this year. I don't think he's going to be any more than that. He's not going to be a top 5 player on the team.
Okay, so when he was signed, I remember me and Sean were talking about Candelario, and if you look at his baseball reference page, there's one thing that you almost immediately notice. He's hot and cold, on year, off year. Let me run you through his OPS plus over the last few years. Last year, 90. Below average, 100 is league average. 2 years ago, 121. Pretty good. Pretty good. Year before that, 80.
Bad.
Terrible. Year before that, 127.
Good.
So this, it might just be, for whatever reason, if you're a fan of patterns, maybe you got one here and Jeimer Candelario is just doing the on-again, off-year thing. Maybe he just comes to play every 2 years. Maybe it's just he's just hey, it's a workload thing. I'll take on off this year. I'll be good next year. Just worry about it. So you're getting 2 years, 4-year deal of Jeimer Candelario. You're getting 2 good years, 2 bad years. So what? We're essentially paying $30 million for Jeimer this year.
So strategically then, after he has an all-star level year this year, we should flip him, right?
Correct.
So you don't have to go through the next year.
Well, you somehow work out the deal that you get him for a year. They get him for a year, we get him for
back?
a year. Yeah. We take one of your players and then we trade them at the end of the year back to each other.
Okay.
You work that. That's what you would call getting crawled. That's getting crawled right there.
If we got one good year out of Jeimer, I'd be happy. One. All I want is 1 year. I got 0 good years out of Mike Moustakas. I want 1 out of Jeimer.
I think you might get it. I think you might get it. Listen, he's played 10 years in Major League Baseball with career OPS right at league average.
Fat tub of lard retired.
I'll move past that.
You didn't even have him in the headlines. That fat tub of lard retired.
Yeah.
Who?
Mike Moustakas.
No.
Fat tub of lard.
The new guy is now the old guy?
Thief.
He had
Jail
He had 66 extra base hits with the Brewers in 2019. In 3 seasons with the Reds, he he had 54 extra base hits. He had 12 fewer base hits in his entire tenure with the Reds than he did the year before with the Milwaukee Brewers.
I like to hate in sports. I think it's up there with being a fan. It's the most fun things to do. I don't think I've ever hated someone with an association to my team as much as I hated Mike Moustakas.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited.
Really excited,
and obviously he gave every hater the out with that stupid commercial he did. Reed mentioned it off the top of the show.
About the new guy in town.
The new guy in town. So like, that's what we're talking about here, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but he wasn't good. He was atrocious. It looked like he gained weight. He wasn't in shape. He didn't play games. What was the most amount of games he played with the Reds? He didn't play more than 78 games with the Reds.
No, that's fun.
I know one of the years was COVID, so I guess you can put that for what it's worth. But even in a 60-game season, he only played 40. Like I wasn't asking a lot out of Mike Moustakas. He had a negative, what was that? Negative 1.6 career, negative 1.6 WAR with the Reds during his time here. Just bad. I mean, just absolutely bad. But happy retirement. Happy trails.
I'm looking at Royals first-round picks. We've talked about this before. To win as a small market in Major League Baseball, you got to draft well. It's pretty much the same way for every sport. You got to draft well, and it's double when you are a small market team in baseball. Looking at the Royals, Mike Moustakas was a first-round pick in 2007. Over a 5-year stretch, the Royals drafted Billy Butler, Alex Gordon, Mike Moustakas, Mike Montgomery, and Eric Hosmer. Obviously, all pieces on there. Well, Mike Montgomery wasn't. He was on the Cubs World Series team. Got the last out in Game 8.
That's right.
I can't wait for Brian Shaw to pitch against the Cubs because he was the one who gave up the lead in Game 7, 10th inning.